So I have here a patch from all of the different countries I've been to so far on this trip, including home sweet home. And my plan is to attach them all to my backpack that I've been carrying around with me for the last 5 months. And I thought that as I attach them, I might reflect on my favourite or most memorable experience from each place. Let's start with Australia. Okay, so Australia is going smack bang on the side there. I've met a lot of Australians on this trip so far, but I've met quite a few girls who have like a little koala keychain or something on their bag. So you see it and you're like, oh, I'm Australian too. So I kind of want that. So it's gonna go here. Now I've got to actually sew it on. Okay, come on. I'm just gonna have a lot of footage of me basically doing nothing as I try to... Oh my god, okay. There we go. That was way too hard. Okay, I have like 1,000 needles and I have no idea which one to use. So it's kind of just a gamble to see whichever one comes out first. Let's see how long it takes me to sew on one patch, and then we can calculate how much of my life this is gonna take up. I'll put a timer on and get back when I finished with this one. The first patch is done, but we have a bit of an issue. This is the easiest position by far to sew the patch onto, and it took me 35 minutes. I have 10 other patches. Wait, 30, 40, I have 14 other patches. That is 7 hours. At the start, I was in France for about 2 weeks. The plan had been to go down like the west of France into Spain, and then there were a bunch of strikes on and all my trains were getting cancelled, so I flew to Portugal instead. But before I did that, I went north to Normandy and to Bayeux. I think one of my favourite memories of my entire trip so far was cycling up there in the north of France. It was an adventure. I have an entire video of my time up there in Bayeux, and most of it is that day I spent cycling. The event it truly was. I got lost, my phone died, it started pouring with rain, I had to try and hitchhike. It was intense. I remember cycling and being like, it's fine, just focus on the next thing, you know, just focus on finding the cycle path again, and it'll be a funny story within a day, you know? Just as long as we get back alive, we can laugh about this in a few months. It was an adventure. And then I went back to France after Spain and did the south, and that was gorgeous. Had a brilliant time there. But that is my little story from France. I started talking, but apparently it wasn't recording. So anyway, France is done. Why do these straps so annoying? It took me half an hour, and now we're on to Portugal. It's pinned on so I can kind of get the line up, but I arrived from Paris and I left Paris a bit bummed and unsure whether I could solo travel. The first 2 weeks had been so intense, such an intense learning curve in the middle of riots in Paris. It was overwhelming, and I didn't know if solo travel was for me. But I arrived in Lisbon and I just happened to pick a hostel called Good Morning Solo Traveller. You know, obviously I picked it for the name. I had one night booked, I got there and I was like, oh my god, this is amazing, and I immediately booked 4 more nights. Honestly, it's been the best hostel I've stayed in so far. So my favourite experience in Portugal was just at that hostel. There was this awesome dining room table, and I remember one night we played Celebrity Heads for hours. It started with about 8 of us, and then the entire hostel joined in. There was like 30 of us all around this table. I would go back to that hostel in a heartbeat. I can't explain how amazing it was. And that of course made the rest of my time in Lisbon just brilliant too. Portugal is done. And it only took me 14 minutes. Half the time. Seriously, I smashed it out. Spain is next. The inside of my bag is gonna look hilarious. I had a great time in Spain. I arrived in Madrid on Easter weekend with 1 night accommodation. So I spent the entire time jumping between 4 different hostels. Every night I was there I had to move to a different hostel because they didn't have more than one night available at a time. But it was fun. I met some awesome people there. A few people that I actually met back up with later on my trip, which was really cool. Probably my favourite time in Spain was when I went down south to Granada for a few days. I ended up staying in a really nice hostel down there, and they offered these hikes out into the Sierra Nevada, which is one of the main reasons I went down there. And a group of about 16 of us just did a day hike. That day was just so fun. Spain is done. And that one took me 15 minutes, so we're definitely getting there. It's only slightly lopsided, but nah. But next, oh, I forgot about Andorra. I didn't actually forget, I just was expecting to do Italy next, but no, I went to Andorra. Andorra was lovely. I took a bus from Barcelona up to Andorra and then into France, and I was only there for a few days. They have a very famous spa centre that I tried to go to, but they were already booked out because I tried to go on the day, and that was silly of me. I should have booked it in advance. But yeah, it's a country that most people don't really know about. Andorra. It's crushed between France and Spain. Technically, it's ruled over by France, and I'm pretty sure that when the president is elected, they become like Prince of Andorra as well. I've just remembered that there's a pocket here, and I'm so glad that I've just caught it now, because otherwise I would have like sewn all the way through. It completely mucked up this bloody pocket. I don't know why, but that one was bloody hard. It took 26 minutes compared to the other two that took 15. I don't know if it was the position or if it was like the edging. There was like the red and the blue are like double the thickness, so it just took so much finger strength to like push through the patch. But it's done now, and it's time to move on to Italy. I spent quite a bit of time in Italy. It was probably closer to 3 weeks at the end of it, and I pretty much moved down the entire thing. So I have a lot of stories, but there is one that stands out. I was staying in Florence, and I decided to go to Pisa for a day to see the Leaning Tower, as you do, and caught the train to Pisa. It's about an hour each direction. I saw the tower, decided to stop in a cafe, and I was just listening to music and having a wonderful time. I was like, this is traveling, you know? And then my AirPods, the case fell out onto the ground, and I had one in and one in the case, and so I just picked up the case, still listening to my music, and I wandered back to the train station and caught the train back to Florence. And then I got off the train, went to put that one earbud away, and realised that the other one that I thought was in the case was missing. And I knew it, like it must have dropped out of my pocket while I was at that cafe. But it was an hour away. It would have been an extra 2 hours on the train just to go back and see if it was still there. And I had plans to meet up with a girl I had met in France, and she was in Florence at the same time, and I was going to meet up with her for the afternoon, and I was like, but I really don't want to have to spend $200 on AirPods. Like, I use them all the time. Like, I could have just gone and get cheap like cable ones, but I love my AirPods. Like, it makes life so much easier. So I was like, screw it. I changed plans with my friend to meet up for dinner, and I went back and I found it just sitting there. I was like, oh my god, so lucky. I came back, and I had a few hours until I met this girl, so I decided to go back to my hostel. And I ended up having one of the best conversations with a girl there that I've had on my entire trip. I was having such a good chat with this girl from my hostel that I didn't want to leave to go to this dinner. I was like, I've already cancelled. So I left, met up for dinner, and then we had an amazing time exploring Florence. Neither of those would have happened that way if I had not dropped that AirPod. So when I first realised I had lost that AirPod, I was like, no, this is so terrible. Like, I was convinced I was never going to find it again, and I was going to waste 2 hours going back there to look for it and it not be there. But not only did I find it, but it also resulted in an amazing experience. Like, that day was an amazing day. That conversation in the hostel really made me happy in myself and who I am. And then I had a great evening out in the city as well. And it just really made me realise that whatever happens, it happens, and you don't realise how it will alter your life. So it was really cool. That's a really strong memory I have from Italy. Now I have to work out how to attach this. Like, what is this? It's like completely slanted. To keep this in line, it's just I turn it off to the side, and then everything slants all the way down the page. That's gonna be fun. Italy took me half an hour as well, but it's done. The pocket like starts halfway through, and I did like 2 stitches and realised I'd gone through the pocket and then had to cut it out. But it is done. I've kind of corrected the slant that I accidentally started with Andorra. But now we have Switzerland. My trip in Switzerland means a lot to me because my granddad flew out to join and travel with me for 2 weeks. So when I was talking about this trip, this year in Europe, I talked about it incessantly for 2 years. Like, my parents had ample amount of time to get used to the idea. I was saying how I was probably going to go through Switzerland and meet up with my friend there. And my granddad said, oh, I've been everywhere I wanted to go to. The only place I haven't gotten to is Switzerland, but I'm too old for that now. And I was like, Granddad, I'm gonna be there next year. Do you want to just come join me? That way we can do it together. And he was like, okay. And so then we just immediately started planning it. And he flew out from Australia to meet me in Switzerland, and we travelled together for 2 weeks. His grandfather is actually from Switzerland. He's from this tiny village on the Swiss-Italian border. So we went to see it, and that day truly was the best day of our entire trip together. We spent 8 hours on a train from our hotel down to this little town and back. It was beautiful. It was amazing. I loved just chilling on the train, chatting to my granddad and staring at the scenery and getting out to watch trains pass over viaducts and going through the snow and the fields. And it's crazy to be able to share that experience with my grandfather, and I will be forever grateful. And so Switzerland was a brilliant part of my trip and I really enjoyed it. Okay, let's start the timer again. See how long this tiny little square takes me. We've been doing this for almost 3 hours now. We're getting there. On to Belgium. I swear that flag looks like the German flag. I'm gonna search up what the German flag looks like. Ah, horizontal versus vertical. Okay, I had no idea that Brussels was in Belgium. I knew Belgium was a country, but also in my head the name Belgium was the name of a city. I don't know what was going on there. But I don't now know that Brussels is the capital of Belgium, and Bruges is actually really, really enchanting. And especially fun when you spend the entire time just quoting in Bruges quotes.
For 2 weeks? In fucking Bruges? In a room like this? With you? No way.
I was only there for a few days. There was a great hostel there, had a great time, and that's basically Belgium. But let's see how long it takes me to sew on this patch.
But giving a level of dedication and sometimes, you know, sometimes you can't be where you want to be.
I've lost my needle and thread on my bed, which is not great because now I'm probably gonna get pricked by it in the night. Found it! We are on to Netherlands now. I only went to Amsterdam, and I was only there for a few days, but it was great. I stayed in a cheap hostel far out of town, like 15 kilometers away. I had to take a bus into Amsterdam whenever I wanted to visit. I hired a bike and I cycled around the area, and then I cycled into Amsterdam to meet up with a girl I had met traveling, and we had a great time. And I wanted to go back because I booked things very last minute. Like, I didn't know where I was going until like a week before, and I missed out on the Anne Frank Museum because they sell out very far in advance, particularly during summer. So my hope is to go back at the end of my trip when I'm nearby in Germany. My fingers are starting to really hurt. These ones with the thick, like the base of the flat of the patch is white, and then this is sewn on top, and it's so thick. Like this one, for these ones it's the edges here that hurt to push through. My fingers ache. But anyway, look at that. It's coming along nice. We're at 3 hours and 52 minutes and we are on to England. So I went from Amsterdam back to Brussels to England. I stayed with my friend in Birmingham for a week and we did nothing, and it was the best. And now I'm back in England. I'll be back a few times. I'm currently staying at a different friend's house, not doing much, just chilling, relaxing for a week. And so in my head that's what England is. It's meeting up with friends and not doing much and going to places in a car, because it's very nice when someone can drive and you don't have to take buses everywhere. The next one is Turkey. It's the only one that doesn't match all the others because I could not be bothered. I cannot be bothered spending my time in each place trying to hunt down a bloody patch because they are harder to find than you would expect nowadays, and most of them that you find are pretty shitty. So I got a bunch all at the same time that are the same, but I already had a turkey one because I got some for my dad as well. Now that I've cut the turkey writing off, it's the same size. So Turkey was amazing. We had a brilliant guide. Incredible. And that's probably not the best place to put it where I'm trying to talk. Everyone on the tour as well was just lovely. There were like 27 of us and we all got on. But everyone, I don't know, I think the company just did a very good job at attracting its target audience. Everyone's here to explore this new culture and to see all these places. And Ethan and I, my brother, we grew up listening to the stories of our parents doing this trip through Egypt, Turkey and Jordan, and so we were kind of reliving it ourselves, sharing the experience together, which was amazing. So it was really fun to travel with him. But yeah, Turkey, it could not have been more perfect. I loved every single day that we were there. Everyone had a lot of fun in the group, laughing. I literally can't. It was amazing. I would go back in a heartbeat, but it would never be the same, you know? I loved it. Next we have Egypt. And Egypt was good. It was intense and very tiring, and I was exhausted by the end of it, but it was good. I've had so many I've had so many expectations and worlds that I've built in my head off the stories that my parents have told me about their time in Egypt. And it was very, those were completely shattered. Not in a good or bad way, just, I don't know what I imagined the temples and hieroglyphs and things like that in Egypt to look like, but I don't think I was expecting what they actually were. I mean, they're still fascinating, and I have a deep love for ancient history, particularly the ancient Egyptians and the Greeks and the Incas, and so it was really cool. Like, my inner child was giddy just seeing all of these ancient artifacts. But the temples themselves, the way that their design was just not what I had pictured, but I don't know, I don't have any recollection of what I did picture. I just know that they just didn't match up. Oh, and I just remember the constant tiredness. It was really hot and I didn't have the correct clothes, but it was great. We're so close. I am quite happy with how it is coming along. I've only got 4 left. Next one is Jordan. I was very sick for most of my time in Jordan. And so what I remember is having one of the worst nights of my life. Definitely the worst night of this trip so far. And then I remember not being able to do the Jeep safari through the desert because I was so unwell. But I managed to pull it together for Petra and I had a great day there. I was still unwell, but I was much better. Being sick really did not help with my exhaustion from Egypt. But it was nice to spend the last few days with my brother and complete the retracing of the steps that our parents took about 25 years ago. I wonder if I can just magic, you know, and it's done. We're on to Cyprus now, and Cyprus was everything that I hoped it would be. I was exhausted after finishing the tours with my brother, and when I booked my flight back to London, it was basically the same price to stop in Cyprus for a week. So I thought, well, why not? And all I did was chill at the amazing hostel there and wander the town and swim at the beach, and it was fantastic. I did nothing. I feel like I did nothing. I read like 4 books in the span of 5 days and edited a bunch of things and slept late and went swimming, so I did a lot, but it was just a relax. It was exactly what I needed, and the hostel was like, you never know when you book a hostel what exactly it's going to be like. And I'm often trying to find the cheapest thing, but also the thing that will give me the best experience in a place, and it's a fine balancing act. I often swing too far in the one direction, but this was just amazing. I loved being there so much. Anyway, let's get cracking. 3 left.
All the values that people espouse are the view of stories to label exist in the universe. I'm speaking of elements of YouTube.
After carrying this around for 5 months, my love and hatred for this bag has grown. And Spending this whole day sewing these patches onto this bag only exemplifies this. Like, it makes me even more attached to this bag than I already am, because I've put so many hours and so much time into putting all these patches on and customizing this bag. But again, my fingers ache. I've spent so much time doing this, and so my irritation towards the bag has also increased a little bit. The irritation that it doesn't have hip straps, and that I'm always scared the zippers are gonna split, and the irritation at myself for thinking that it'd be a good idea to use this bag as my main bag when it is so tiny. I mean, I'm glad I did. It means a lot to me, but yeah. Look at my beautiful work. I have 2 left. 2. I travelled Scotland with my best friend last week. It was spectacular. We moved from Edinburgh to Inverness to Fort Williams to Glasgow, and it was great. We did nothing apart from sit at coffee shops and chat, but the one moment from this trip that really stood out is, of course, when we decided to camp at Fort William with nothing but a tent. So we used our backpacks as pillows, we laid out things on the ground, and then we wrapped ourselves in all of our remaining clothes. We loved the caravan park we stayed in. It was actually amazing. They did this awesome hot breakfast as well. But it was definitely an experience camping in the Scottish Highlands with only a tent. Albeit it's summer, it's not too bad. It was cold. So that is my memory from Scotland. And Ireland I have yet to go to. I head off there tomorrow, but I'm just going to sew it on now so I don't have it lying around. And yeah, you can watch my next video to see what Ireland was like. And I have videos on every single place that I've been to so far. I love my videos and my patches and my journal and all the other ways that I'm recording this trip. And it's just so nice to be able to go back and look at the videos of cycling in France or hiking a volcano while sick in Italy. I'm proud of myself for spending the entire day sewing on these blasted patches. Alright, are you ready for the last stitch? And just like that, I am done! How have I finished? I literally feel like I just started, but also I have been here hours. Let's check my timer. 5 hours and 45 minutes of stitching. Oh my god. It's taken me between 14 and 35 minutes to stitch one patch. And we have 16 patches. I swear I hadn't been to so many countries. Oh, I haven't been to Ireland yet. That's right. Da da da! Anyway, I hope you liked this video. I will have more of my travel videos up as I travel. I mean, that was 5 hours of my life. And yeah. Bye.